Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a surprising win for Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Now when I say surprising, I mean it, because I was totally surprised to see this win in the poll. And I don't know why. Because I put all of these games into the polls, wanting them to win so I can share them with you, because they are fantastic games. Now this was a suggestion by a viewer. So we're going to be going over to the computer desktop to have a look through the PDF in a wee second. And as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to talk about our patrons for a second, who are fantastic people who make all of this possible. They allow me to create these videos and share these quirky little games with you, things which we've all kind of forgotten about over the mists of time. Now, if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, and I sure wish you would, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to gain access to one of the other levels of patronage we've got, if you click on the Patreon in the description down below, check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. So, this is Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, the role-playing game. Came out from Games Designers Workshop in 1990. And it's kind of a spin-off of Twilight 2000. In fact, if you look up the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs Wikipedia page, it mentions that they brought out a Twilight 2000 role-playing game for it. Now, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs itself is based on the comic book series Xenozoic Tales, which details this gentleman on the covers, stories in a world in the future where dinosaurs have returned. But we'll get onto that in a bit more in a second. Now, he himself is an engineer who repurposes old Cadillacs for using to travel around this post-apocalyptic dinosaur-filled world. So the title makes a lot of sense when it's stories about him. And there was a cartoon series, which I've never seen, and an arcade game, which I have seen and I played a lot of back in the day. And he's the core character in them, so the title makes sense for them. But for the role-playing game, I think Xenozoic Tales would have made far more sense, but the title's what they had. Now, let's have a look at the back cover before I get on to the setting. So, a world gone mad. Although the first signs of the cataclysm appeared in the mid-1980s, it was not until a decade later that the extent to the geological and ecological disaster became apparent. By the early 21st century, humankind had begun its retreat from an increasingly hostile surface to the safety of vast subterranean shelters. By AD 2020, the churning, spitting earth came to a boil, billions died, and an entire species was consumed. The few surviving humans huddled in their scattered iron and steel tombs and waited. 450 years after it had sealed itself off, humanity returned to the daylight and was greeted by a radically altered world. A world that should not exist. A world populated by creatures from all of Earth's past geologic eras. The Xenozoic era is the brainchild of artist-writer Mark Schultz, and the extraordinary adventures of the last surviving humans have been published in comic form in both Kitchen Sink Press and Epic Comics. Now, the detailed and colourful background of the Xenozoic era combines with a critically acclaimed Twilight 2000 game system to provide you with role-playing extravaganza. A complete game character generation, combat, tasks, equipment, dinosaurs, adventures and much more. Compatible with Twilight 2000 and all its supplements and sourcebooks. Treasure trove of background information for comic fans, lavishly illustrated by Mark Schultz. Which is kind of true because there's a lot of the comic book art in it, but there's a lot of Twilight 2000 art, especially for equipment, but we'll come to that. So, it's absolutely gorgeous. The comic book art's very, very fine, and it's just kind of cool. Action heroes up against dinosaurs. There's a lot to be liked in there. We got into the credits page, and design and development by Frank Chadwick, a very recognisable name, based on characters and situations appearing in Xenozoic Tales. And then we're on to the table of contents. Quite detailed. And it starts off with the setting. So the Years of Fire. Basically, the environment becomes so bad through pollution that there's massive storms, there's global warming, there's all these things which are destroying the ecology of the planet. And food chains start collapsing, so there's mass starvation. To shelter from these, humanity creates large underground steel and iron vaults to shelter in. But still, billions are left outside and die. They only expect to last a few years inside of these, but the engineers work and extend the lifespan of these vaults. Along with, they've discovered another species living far beneath the surface of the Earth. And they kind of help set up the environments within these. So humans survive in these vaults for 450 years. And when they emerge, they find that the planet has radically altered, that creatures from all different time periods are now living alongside one another. So there's dinosaurs and early mammals and all this alongside humans. So the world is completely different. And they don't know why this has happened. This is one of the big things in the game, that there's all these things which are different, which people don't know the cause of. So, for example, there's now 2 moons, and nobody knows why. But there's remnants of the old civilizations. There's a particular place where Manhattan is basically jutting out of the waters which have flooded it, and that's become a settlement. But mainly the world has been repurposed. Plants have taken over, dinosaurs are there. A really interesting world to be coming out into. The other big change is that during the 450 years in the vaults, society has changed. When they went in, the politicians who'd organised everything and the rich people who'd ensured their positions within the vaults were in charge. But over time, political power has been lost, and the influence that money has been lost as well. The real influence has been in engineering prowess, people who can help the vaults survive. And they've become the leaders in society, the people who actually help out. Now, while I suppose if we follow the timeline as people come out of the vaults, engineers will still be important in bringing technology out and reclaiming the surface. But politicians, I guess, will rise to power once more. But anyway, carrying on through, we've got the Years of Darkness, World Gone Mad, and detailing out the Precambrian time Xenozoic era. So we've got a game overview, die rolling conventions, gender-specific pronouns, and we're straight onto character generation. So it goes through how to obtain skills, skill and attribute-derived values, what equipment are available, different careers, because as with Twilight 2000, you go through different careers to pick up skills. So were you an engineer, a doctor, a criminal, a guard, a hunter, etc.? Were you a politician? We've got an example of character generation and a sample character sheet, which, compared to Twilight 2000, does look a lot simplified. Now, I'll do a rules breakdown in a couple of weeks, and we will see how, if it is simplified at all, or whether it's just the Twilight 2000 rules. A second example, we've got lists of equipment, so food, explosives, generators, heaters and coolers, hand tools, other equipment, and we're on to weapons. And these pages will look very familiar if you've looked through the Twilight 2000 rulebooks at all. These are very much just the equipment pages out of that game, which, why reinvent the wheel? If you've got a bunch of weapons and they're based on modern day into post-apocalyptic, then it works for this game too. Loads of guns, magnums, different hunting rifles, shotguns, submachine guns and assault rifles, missile launchers, but not going on into heavy weapons too much. Because this is not Twilight 2000, this is not a war game. These are ordinary people who are picking up weapons. So it is biased a bit more towards the lighter side. And then we've got vehicle cards. So we've got the standard Cadillac, as the game is named after. But then very much everything after that is Twilight 2000. So we've got a fuel tank trailer, cargo trucks, horses, mules, wagons, different boats, motorboats. And that's it. Again, we're not going into Twilight 2000 with loads of tanks and Humvees and all that, because it's not that kind of game. I would have liked if they'd got a range of different cars, but I suppose it doesn't matter. A car's a car is a car. You can make the difference yourself if you decide you're driving around a Porsche 911 instead of a Cadillac. Anyway, we're on to the referees section. So, instruct them how to describe the world, how to structure the game. Advice for novices, rewards and experience. Skills and task resolution. We're going through all this. How to improve skills. Non-player characters. Motivation for NPCs. How long it takes to travel around. Food requirements. Foraging. Because, again, this is kind of like Twilight 2000 in that you're surviving off the land. You can't really go into a convenience store and pick up some food because they're 450 years in the past. We've got animal maintenance. Again, lovely art. The main character driving his car past a tyrannosaur, I guess. Could be an allosaurus. I'm not an expert. Vehicle travel. Maintenance and repairs. Boat travel, maintenance and repairs on those. Random encounters. Different types of random encounters. So different tribes, animals, expanding them out. And then we're on to the combat system. We'll flick through this. We've got melee combat, fire combat, automatic fire, thrown weapons, explosions, demolitions, all the kind of stuff you would expect in a war game, but this is more of an action game. We've got wound effects, recovery, tactical visibility, vehicle combat. It does seem very heavy on the combat rules, but it's Twilight 2000, so it's that kind of game. Animal combat. Then we're on to different types of animals. So we're Twilight 2000, we'll have horses and mules and things. This really is going into more fierce animals because these will be the opponents in most adventures. So we've got cave bears and crocodiles, allosauruses called cutters here, hornbills, max, ceratopsia, mammoths, octopuses, quetzalcoatl, rock hoppers, which is a camptosaurus, saber-toothed tigers, sailbacks, dimetrodons, sauropods, Trucidia velociraptor, a sea skrank, sea vipers, sharks, a shellywhack, a Tyrannosaurus rex, which is called a shivat for some reason, a normal dog, threshers, tritons, widgets, wohochucks, which are stegosauruses, obviously, iguanodons. We've got wild dogs here, pterodons, called zeeks. And then we're on to a section about the known world. So it's explaining the world which the comics take place in. So we've got the lay of the land, including a map showing off. This is the area around New York because the sea and the city used to be Manhattan Island. And it's just the towers which are sitting out of the sea now because the island itself has sunk. And various research stations as people have come out of the vaults. Detailing the tribes which the main characters interact with, the history of them, what their government is, a council of governors, the farms around the area, different vaults, the copper mines, the garage, which is where the main character in the comics operates from, because that's where he rebuilds his Cadillacs. Trade and commerce, price of food and black market goods here. Another city, the Wassoon. Details the Grith, the alien race who live far beneath the surface of the Earth, and these are very alien. They've existed on Earth longer than humans, but they've never interacted, they've hidden, and they are experts in creating their own ecosystems, which they have done far, far deeper than the vaults were placed. But in the 450 years living underground, interaction started. And the engineers can communicate after a fashion with the Grith, but they are still very mysterious. And then we've got a bunch of characters, so Mustafa Cairo, an engineer, Worcester, manager, Jack Tenrek, mechanic, he's the main character in the comics, Hannah Dundee, a diplomat explorer. Just a bunch of the characters out of it, a hex map of the area, so you can see, a blank hex map. And then we've got an adventure, Lurkers in the Swamp. I haven't read through it, but it's only a few pages, 4 pages long, and then we're on to all the tables necessary for running a Twilight 2000 game. So hit locations, combat movement, armor, etc. Vehicle and vessel hit locations, different types of weapons, small arms, bursts for grenades and explosions, ammo record sheets, NPC record sheets, terrain effects on travel, different encounter tables, lots and lots of tables to flesh it out, and then we're finishing off with the character sheet, detailing what different skills do on the back side of it if you were to duplicate that. We've got index, and then we're to the back cover that we've already looked at. Now, it's an interesting game. It's a way of repurposing Twilight 2000 rules, which kind of makes sense because they are both post-apocalyptic in their own different ways. So the rules do work because you're going to be surviving in this environment, even though the environment's going to be very, very different. I'll look through the rules in a couple of weeks. As I said, I'll do a rules breakdown, and we shall see if they have streamlined the rules at all, because I think the rules in Twilight 2000 might be a bit heavy for a fun action-adventure game like this, rather than detailing combat out in all the details that Twilight 2000 does. So that was Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and that won the poll this week with some 30% of the vote, way ahead of everything else. Because in second position was Creatures of the Galaxy for the Star Wars role-playing game on 22%, and in joint third position on 18% was Cthulhu Tech and The Golden Dawn for Call of Cthulhu. And way back behind was Dark Matter for the Alternity role-playing game on only 11%, which is sad because I'm a recent convert to Alternity. I really like what they were doing, and it would have been lovely to look through one of their campaign books. But alas, not this time. Now, setting up the next poll, it's going to be a bit different, because in a couple of weeks I'm going away. I'm going to be travelling down to England, to the place where my mother was born, because we're going to be scattering her ashes with her parents and with her brother's ashes as well, as other family members in the same place. So we're getting together with branches of the family and doing a big event about this. Now, I'm not going to be able to record that weekend, so this poll is going to carry me through when I should be recording and presenting these other polls, because I obviously won't be able to hold ones while I'm away. So I'll be doing a bit of a backlog. So in this poll, it's the top 3 which are going to win. And I'll be doing them from first, second and third position, and we'll be doing that. And I basically selected from the most recent full RPGs which have been in polls, along with another from a list which a viewer has sent in. So first up we've got Macho Women with Guns, which came second in one of the recent polls. It's a fun game and I'd love to look through it. I had a brief look through it in the 90s because one of the guys in my group had it and it seemed a lot of fun. Second up we've got Cthulhu Tech. Now this is humans have developed great technologies and using giant mechs to fight off the Cthulhu mythos creatures which have appeared on Earth. A bit Pacific Rim, I suppose. It sounds like a whole load of fun, and I've had viewers comment that that was their first game to play, so it'll be a joy to look through it. Third up, we've got Toon, the cartoon role-playing game. Now this is a massive laugh. I played this way back in the 1980s, where one of the players played Marvin the Martian out of the Looney Tunes cartoons because he could do the voice, and we had a great time, and it'll be a joy to revisit this. After that, we've got Edge of the Empire, the recent Star Wars Fantasy Flight games. Now, this one's obviously fighting against the Galactic Empire rather than during the prequels when you'd be Jedi and things. And it's sort of classic Star Wars stuff. Now, I've played this game a lot. I played a full campaign of it. And while I have some criticism of the game, it is a lot of fun. So it'll be fun to share that with you. And finally, we've got the Conan role-playing game from TSR in 1985. Now, I've really been enjoying going through all the old TSR games. I've gone through Gangbusters, Top Secret, the Marvel Superheroes and Boot Hill in the last year alone. And these have all been fantastic to look through. So it'd be absolute joy to look through Conan. I don't really know much about it, but I do remember that in the first role-playing game magazines I got, there were the fantastic adverts for Conan, which were so striking visually. So it'll be wonderful to look through and see if the game lives up to their advertising promise. So choose which ones you want to see. Remember that while the poll's open, you can swap your vote. So if the game you vote for is winning by a massive amount and you want to see another game, you can switch your vote to that and give that a higher chance of being video number 2 or 3. But it's up to you. Let's see what we get for the next 3 weeks. Apart from that, well, I've been doing my usual stuff over on DiveThruRPG. There's a link down below if you want to check that out. And over on RPG Gamer, we're bringing up to the dramatic moments of the Knights of the Old Republic comic, where he's tracked down the Covenant and is going up against them. Some fantastic stuff going on there. If you like the Star Wars D6 system and you want to see what I'm doing with stats for that, and want to see my reviews for these comics, then go over to rpggamer.org and check it out. It'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.